Alright guys, I'm back. A little bit different video today for you guys. Calibrating wheel settings and the wheel range and map range and things like that in iRacing. This was number one, the hardest thing I had trouble with when I first started iRacing, and I could never find a very specific video of what these things meant when I first started, and I don't want you guys to have to go through that anymore if you've been doing the same thing I have. So try to keep this one short and sweet today. I just want to talk about one-to-one. Basically, what you do on the wheel is what happens in the game. My camera is a little bit delayed, so as I'm moving this, it's cut me some slack for getting it lined up where I'm trying to show you guys things. So I'm kind of watching on the camera as I do it at the same time. But anyway, it doesn't matter what you have in your profiler as your range. I'll show you guys mine here. This is my Logitech G29 wheel. So iRacing is, I have it set in here as a specific game. You can leave it on default if you wanted to, but I was able to, I don't really remember how I even did this, but it doesn't matter. You don't technically need it. I just double click on here. Logitech G29 is advertised as a 900 degree wheel, and the outside of that, really, that's the only thing that you could adjust in here. You can change the buttons and stuff like that, but I mean, there's no point. A lot of people like to say they want to run this at 420, or some run it as low as 360, some run it up in 600-700s. It doesn't matter. Okay, there's the myth that changing this is going to change how your car reacts on iRacing. It is exactly that. It's a myth. Okay, I can have this set to 100 degrees. As long as I have it set up properly in iRacing, it's going to have one-to-one inputs. Okay, so all this number is how far the wheel can spin until it hits that wheel lock. Okay, so this from all the way to the right, all the way to the left is supposed to be 900 degrees. On the G29, it's not. Okay, so this might not apply to you if you have a bit fancier wheel and your wheel actually does turn the advertised amount of rotation. But for those of you who have cheaper wheels like this, this is going to be a good video for you guys. So anyway, I leave it set at 900 in there because it doesn't matter. I'm just focused on having one-to-one inputs in iRacing. And now you're looking at this number and you're saying, well, that only says 870. I'm going to get into that right now. So basically, I'm going to do this two ways. I'm going to do it the right way, and then I'm going to do it the wrong way, okay? So first things first, it asks you when setting it up to turn your wheel fully one way and then the other, and then return to the center and click done. So you can do that. Turn it all the way to the left. Good. All the way to the lock again. Good. Back to the center. This is going to be really difficult for me because I am not looking at this properly. Let's just get it on 50. Good. Okay, good. Good enough. That's not what we're really worried about. We're worried about this. Okay, I have faith in you guys that you can line this back up in the center when you go and do this. This is the most important part here. Okay, this measuring your 90 degrees to the left is so often overlooked because everybody just says, oh, my wheel's 900 degrees. Let me just get it to 900 on the screen and we're good. It couldn't be more wrong. Okay, and there's a few things I want to point out here that I don't know if I can pick up on the camera that well, but I'll try and do my best to show you guys what I mean. Let me do it the wrong way first, okay? So this is 900. Okay, and let's see if you can get like a good angle of this. It's not exactly 90 degrees. Okay, see how this is a little bit slanted this way, and this is a little bit slanted the same way. This wheel isn't turned all the way to where it needs to be. 90 degrees, if you could still hear me, I know I backed away from the mic a little bit. 90 degrees on the Logitech is 870. You can do it looking at these bolts here, looking at the lines basically from this point to this point, or the paddles okay, or just looking at this. A lot more up and down now. And these lines here too, these should be 90 degrees in that direction. You can get a little leveler and do it all scientifically if you want, okay? But I'm going to show you why that's important, because let's do it the wrong way first. Okay, I'm going to set it up to 90 or 900, okay? I did that by looking on the screen, which is the wrong way to do it. So I hit done, good to go. Now when I turn my wheel all the way, see how I'm not 90 degrees here? This wheel isn't flat this way. Turn 90 degrees to the left like it should be. Okay, look on here, and it is. So now now iRacing thinks that your inputs are based on 900 degrees when they're not. They're built on, basically with the G29, they're built on about 870, which is usually the rough number that we get to. Okay, if you look here, it's close. See if I can get it back to where I want it. It's close in these ranges here, okay? It is a little bit tilted too far this way. This corner doesn't quite line up, and this is tilted a little bit upwards, okay? It's not much, but it makes a difference when you get to really trying to catch a slide and things like that. Okay, so now we saw this. Okay, we can see the extremes here because now it's perfectly side. This is perfectly at a right angle here, pointing straight out to the right. My wheel's not. Okay, so now I'm going to go and do it the right way. Turn my wheel all the way one way. Turn it all the way back the other way. Put it back in the middle. Try my best, at least. All right, good enough. Now I'm going to put it, by looking at the wheel, I'm going to put it to where I think about 90 degrees to the left should be. I would say we're pretty close there. Just look at, but what? If I just barely tap it, boom, it goes to 870. I like the round number. That's why I found articles and stuff like on random websites that have said 870 is the right number for these. So now I'm straight up and down. I'm straight across on here. I'm straight across on here. And this is all straight vertical up and down. That's 870. Okay, see, you saw that little twitch? If you missed it, rewind it. Okay, you saw the little twitch because now our wheel is set up right. Now I go all the way to the left. Oh, look at that. All of a sudden we line up. This has a little angle downward. So does this. Back to the middle. We're straight up and down if I can get it. Straight up and down, back to the 90 degrees. We're 90 degrees. Plain and simple. That's the most often overlooked thing when it comes to setting things up in iRacing. Everybody thinks that, oh, my wheel, my G29 or whatever wheel I have is a 900 degree wheel. I can set it as 900 degree in the profiler and do that in the game as well. And it's wrong. Always look at your wheel when you're turning it 90 degrees to the left. Okay, that's why in their iRacing how-to videos on their website, it says, make sure you're looking at the wheel when it asks you to turn it to the left 90 degrees and not the number that's on the screen. Because a lot of wheels are advertised as 900 degrees or 1080 degrees, and they're not. Okay, so I'm going to do something here. This is straight up and down, basically. So one full turn should be 360 degrees. Now another 90 degrees, basically, would be 450 degrees, which is half of 900. So another 900 degrees should be straight out and straight out on these lines here and this little bar here. I try to go 90 degrees and it misses. I've done this with a little protractor and everything, okay? If I can find it, I got my little handy dandy box here. I pull out my little protractor here, try to put it on the middle of the wheel, and I did this more what's the word I'm looking for? A little bit better than what I'm doing right now with one hand and things. This line right here where it comes through the middle sits right about 30 degrees, okay? Which means this wheel comes up about 30 degrees short of 900 or 450 on both sides. Okay, so if you divide 870 in half, you get what is that? 435. So this wheel is only turning 870 degrees from here all the way to here. If it was 900 degrees, if I'm over here, this lock on when I go all the way to the right should be down here, right? Because that would be an even 900 degrees. But when I come all the way over here, it was right about here. We're pointing up, not even down. So we're 30 degrees short somewhere. Don't know if my Logitech's just built wrong. I doubt it. A lot of people have said this about the Logitechs. Now your fancier wheels, your Thrustmaster TS, PC, Racer, whatever those are, your Fanatec's, your Semi-Cubes, all these direct drives or these really fancy wheels, they probably don't have this problem. Okay, so this is probably a very specific, like a G29 or maybe a T150 kind of issue. I haven't looked up any of those other wheels. I've only looked up this G29 though. So don't take my word for it if you have a Thrustmaster or a Fanatec or anything like that. Do the eye test, okay? Go get a little leveler, find what 90 degrees is, and get it level when you're calibrating, okay? Don't make the mistake of looking at the screen and thinking, okay, my wheel is 900 degrees in the profiler. I'm going to turn it 900 degrees on the game when it says that, and then you get a wheel that looks like this or like too far or whatever it may be. It just depends on what wheel you have. Do the eye test, get it right the first time, and never have to worry about it again. Okay. The other thing I wanted to touch on was the wheel force and damping and minimum force. There is a thing in the forums. I will try to find it. Again, it is so hard to find, but there is a file in the forums on how to set your minimum force. This just basically says to iRacing, we're going to bump up all the force feedback to this level so you can feel everything in your wheel. Little tiny bumps or the smallest bumps your wheel might not find if this is all the way down on 0. Logitech's, your newer ones, you might get away with like 17%. But every time I do mine, it hits like 19 or 20%, so I leave mine on 20%. Wheel force, that's just something you can Google. Whether you have a Logitech G29 or a Thrustmaster T150 or Fanatec CSW Elite or whatever they're called. Your wheel force, just type into Google, what is the wheel force in, what are these called? Newton meters or something like that of my G29 wheel. One of the first things that come up is probably going to be what your wheel force is. Okay, if you have a Fanatec, I know it's on their website because I've been looking at Fanatec websites for the last 3 months now and really trying to get a new wheel because I have the CSL Elite pedals that I really want to get a matching wheel for. Okay, so sometimes the website will have what this wheel force number is. This is just the number for when you do your auto force feedback. After you go out and turn a few laps, you can come back in here, do the auto force feedback, and it'll make sure it doesn't put it too high. That way your wheel force feedback doesn't clip. Clipping force feedback, that's a whole different topic. Basically, you just get loss of feeling in the wheel. Nothing I really need to dive into here. And damping, this just adds a little bit of weight to that force feedback, okay? When you don't really feel anything in the wheel, like right now because I'm not in the car, it's just gliding pretty smoothly. Damping makes it feel a little bit heavier. Now, if you want to get a good number for here, this is all user preference. I would encourage you not to go very high. Don't go to 100% because you're probably going to burn up your wheel and your motor and stuff. I like 5%. It just gives me just a little bit of weight because of this gear-driven wheel is very clunky sometimes. So this makes it feel a little bit heavier and less clunky, and it gives it a little bit of smoothness to those gears, okay? Other than that, as long as you get this set up 90 degrees in iRacing, again, to reiterate, it doesn't matter what your profiler says. Everybody always says, well, why don't you just change your Logitech profiler to 870? Because when I do that, then it leaves it me like right here. So it doesn't matter what my Logitech profiler says because in the brain of this thing, it thinks it's turning 900 degrees, and it's not. So I fixed that by correcting it in iRacing. This may just be a G29 issue. I don't know. But regardless, I would encourage all of you to test your wheels and make sure you're doing it right, because the most important thing to have in iRacing, outside of setups, outside of driving skill, outside of throttle control, is making sure your wheel is set up for 1-to-1 ratio. That means if I turn this 90 degrees this way, iRacing knows I'm turning it 90 degrees. If I turn it 45 degrees, iRacing knows I'm turning 45 degrees. Before, when I had it set wrong, it thinks 90 degrees is right about there. That's not right. Okay, so I go a little bit farther, find that 870, and boom, we're in the sweet spot. Okay, so if you have 1-to-1 ratio of your inputs on your wheel to what is happening in iRacing, I know my camera is a little bit delayed compared to what's happening on the screen, but it still applies, okay? Set your wheel up for 1-to-1 ratio and you will be set forever. You'll never have to touch it again unless you unplug it on accident or something, and then you'll just have to redo it. Okay? Other than that, that's all I wanted to show you guys. I wanted to try and keep this as short as possible and get this information out to you guys, because I had a hell of a time finding it when I first started iRacing, and when I finally did find it, everything felt so much better. Okay? Other than that, again, you can find me on Twitch live at twitch.tv/shapes, SHAEPZ. I've seen a lot of you guys coming from here and following on there, so I appreciate that a lot. All the subs and all the comments on YouTube and stuff have been awesome. I love seeing things that I'm putting out there helping the community. That setup, I think I got 3 messages within the first 3 hours it was up. People saying, like, I just ran the best race I've ever had on that setup. I just went from the back to P2. Things like that. Guys are just tearing it up already with that setup, so I love to see that. Keep the comments coming. Keep those likes coming on the videos. Helps me out. Gets YouTube to recommend these a little bit more to people, so we can get some more views and keep helping the dirt community out. Just a little more general iRacing video for people, but if it applies to you, please, please, please fix your wheel. All right. You guys take care. Again, thank you for all the follows and likes and subs on everything. Don't forget to hit that bell. I'm trying to upload as much as I can. Work kind of gets in the way sometimes, but stay tuned, guys. I got some pretty cool stuff coming. If you ever need help, do not forget, just leave a comment. Find me on Discord or Facebook or whatever it might be. Shoot me a message. I am willing to help you guys out with any of this stuff, all right? Everybody, take care. Thanks for watching.